El 2025 inició con discos muy interesantes. El primero del año que me ha llamado a mí la atención en particular es The Human Fear de Franz Ferdinand. El título me parece muy curioso. El temor humano. Es una agrupación que viene además de lanzar su colección de grandes éxitos después de más de 20 años de música. Colección de grandes éxitos, primer nuevo disco. ¿Qué significa esto? Estuve hablando con Alex Capranos, el vocalista de Franz Ferdinand. La banda ha cambiado mucho. De hecho, dos, si bien recuerdo, de sus integrantes originales ya no están en la agrupación. Pero lo que más me llamó la atención de The Human Fear, aparte de que el disco me parece que está buenísimo, es la portada. Aquí está Alex Capranos explicando la portada de The Human Fear.
I love the album cover. You guys always seem to have, a special detail on every album cover. They always have a certain something. It's not just a picture of the band just looking cool or whatever. There's always something. And I love these whole square things going on.
So that image was directly inspired by the work of a Hungarian artist called Dora Mora, and she's alive now. But that piece, she made a piece called Seven Twists, and which inspired that. It's her holding self-portraits in a similar way. And we approached Dora, and she's cool with us. Doing our version of her concept. What I loved about the work, the initial work, was, well, it does what good pop music or good rock music does for me, which is it has an immediate impact. You can't look at it and forget that you've seen it. But at the same time, there's an introspection and a depth to it that draws you back and makes you want to look at it again. And I feel that's what you're aiming for with music. You want to make something that hits you like that, bam, straight away, but you're drawn back to again and again. You want to hear it. And when you come back, you see more. And possibly it reflects your own mood more than it tells you the mood of the person who wrote it or performed it. That's the goal. And that's what I loved about her art.
A propósito de portadas de discos, hay un álbum que salió a finales del 2024 que me llamó mucho la atención, que es el más reciente disco de Foster the People. Seguramente, al igual que yo, muchos de ustedes conocieron esta agrupación gracias al álbum Torches, que fue el de Pumped Up Kicks, que fue un éxito a nivel internacional enorme. Bueno, el disco fue tan grande que la agrupación le hizo gira de aniversario en su momento. Estuve hablando con Mark Foster, que curiosamente es un tipo que viene a hacer jingles de radio y termina haciendo música componiendo sus discos. Estuve hablando con Mark Foster sobre la portada del disco. A mí me llama mucho la atención las portadas de los discos. No soy diseñador ni nada, pero siempre hay una buena historia a pesar de los servicios de streaming que ya no hay portadas, pero eso es el otro episodio. Póngale cuidado a lo que me cuenta Mark Foster.
You guys also put a lot of detail into album covers. There's a lot going on in this album cover. Can you tell me about it? Who designed it? What's going on there?
So there's this artist in New York that I've been a fan of for a long time. His name's Matt Hansel, and he is like a oil painter, and he's just like an incredible artist. And when it was time to make a record cover, I had no idea like what the cover for this record would be, and I took a chance and I contacted him on a whim to see if it was something he would ever be into. And he listened to the record and he was like, I would love to do it. And so it was really cool. I'd never done it. Like the actual painting is like, it's like this big. And I think that, within that, this record has to do a lot with dimensions, has to do with, like, I would say what it is to be a flawed human, like just the human experience, but then also this conversation with the divine, there's like this spiritual component to this record that weaves throughout it. And I think the cover, he really communicated beautifully kind of all these different thoughts of transformation, the past, the human fragility, the darkness and the light, and just how these things are kind of weaving in with each other. But like the record started from the 70s. I also like a lot of my favorite album covers are from the 70s, And so so that was another thing. We looked at like Storm Thorgerson, who did like, the artwork for like
Hypnosis.
Floyd, and yeah. And like, so we kind of wanted to do something in that style, kind of in that psychedelic style.
No, and I love, there's the diamond in the art, and there's also a song, A Diamond to Be Born. So I was like, there's something there, and I really liked it.
Y en este episodio de Wikijulio quiero incluir una tercera portada de disco y tiene que ver con el más reciente álbum de los Vaccines, una agrupación de indie que recientemente vino a América Latina a finales del año pasado. Hicieron un par de festivales también y algunos shows independientes y es una gran banda que lamentablemente siento que nos hemos perdido. Y estoy hablando con el cantante precisamente sobre la portada del disco, que curiosamente es una foto que tomó él que resultó retocada. Bueno, más que tomarla él, la frente que se ve en la portada del disco es la de él. Esta es la historia.
An interview you did about the upcoming album where you mentioned that nostalgia sort of fueled the band for this record. Can you tell me a bit about that? How can that sort of feeling fuel the record?
Well, I think that feeling fuels my life. I think to an extent it probably fills the lives of the other band members. I think it fills lots of people's lives, doesn't it? And I think that's actually always been a sort of central theme within the Vaccines music and the Vaccines world. Like, I think, even in the way we sound, I think there's an element of nostalgia, and those lyrical concepts have always been nostalgic. So I don't think that's necessarily anything new, but I think that, the further you get down the road, the more there is behind you. But it's not necessarily any more certain what's in front of you. And so, yeah, I think I might not have talked about it in interviews yet, but I guess I've just been talking about it. Like, we've been talking about it as a band, just this sense that, like, never really knowing if you're running from something or to something, and whether or not you're kind of, there's the front cover of the album is me sort of driving down like a desert highway actually, and you can't really tell if I'm looking in the rearview mirror or if I'm looking ahead of me. And I think that maybe is quite symbolic, I would say.
So that's a real picture, or yes. It's not like just an image you took from
No, it's my forehead. Yeah.
Great, because even though everything's so digital, I always like to ask about the album art, and I saw the picture, of course, the car and everything. I was to ask you about that.
Well, there is something mildly digital about it, in that it was taken on my little film camera, and it wasn't actually pixelated enough to be an album cover, so we had to convert it to AI, but it is real. The image is real.
Okay, cool. And where's the highway?
It's in Joshua Tree, in the Joshua Tree Desert in Southern California, near LA.
You were there for any particular reason?
I was spending the weekend there.
Estos son algunos discos que me han llamado recientemente la atención y quería darle un enfoque diferente a las entrevistas, entonces estuvimos hablando de portadas de discos. Hay mucho sobre las portadas y el arte de los álbumes en este canal, Wikijulio, historias musicales. Mi nombre es Julio César Escobar. Recuerden suscribirse, recuerden compartir y cualquier cosa que quieren que discutamos acá de música, más que bienvenidos, los leo en los comentarios.